This is the first of 2 videos on the subject of goal setting. Goal setting is an important topic, not only at this time of year, but any time of year. And your efforts on establishing goals varies at different times in your life and in your career, but I urge you to consider that effective goal setting may be the missing link in your journey to business success. Why is that, you might ask? Well, commitment without a goal, motivation without a goal, and especially success without a goal is statistically improbable. And remember that a goal that's not written down and well thought out is just a wish. The reason for setting goals is simple. You want your vision of the future to materialize. The time for goal setting is when you realize that there's a difference between where you are and where you say you want to be, and you want to do something about it. Now, the difference between where you are and where you say you want to be is the easier way to sell definition for the word problem. Way too often I've seen people begin the goal setting process by choosing where they want to be before knowing where they are. That's certainly true for most people in most businesses. So, how can you clearly define where it is you want to be? Here's an exercise that I know will be helpful. For this exercise, you must be able to answer these 3 goal-related questions. First, within $1,000, how much money are you going to make over the next 12 months? The second question, how many more closed sales on average do you need to reach that goal? Now, as a communications and sales consultant for the last 40 plus years, I've asked the 3rd question of clients around the world, and that question is, what is your closing ratio? Most respondents are unaware of that ratio. And just to refresh your memory, your closing ratio is the answer to the question, out of every 10 appointments, how many sales do you get? What you discover is that you only need to increase your average by a small amount to reach your goal. In an early episode of the podcast, I shared the relevancy between your closing ratio and baseball batting averages. Let's review. Baseball batting averages are determined as a percentage of safe baseball hits out of every 100 tries, extended out 1 decimal. A .310 hitter means that the person has 31 safe hits out of every 100 tries, and a .270 hitter has 27 safe hits out of every 100 tries. The question is, how much more does Major League Baseball pay a .310 hitter versus a .270 hitter? And the answer in 2020 was $5 million per season. And I want you to give that some thought, because the difference between these 2 professional athletes was only 4 more successes out of every 100 tries. How is that possible? We're looking at a difference of only 4 safe hits. But turn that stat upside down, and it's even crazier. American baseball is willing to pay $5 million more per season to someone who fails only 69 times out of every 100 tries, rather than someone who fails 73 times out of every 100 tries. Do you know your sales batting average? Out of every 10 appointments, how many sales can you count on to close? If you don't have an answer right now, go figure it out. Go back over your records. Find out the numbers. Those numbers inform you as to where you are. And it's a challenge to figure out which way to go when you don't know where you are. Now, you might know your numbers, and some of your colleagues might, but probably not. You know who does know those numbers? It's either your sales manager, your accountant, or your significant other. Okay, let's proceed as if you do know your closing ratio. The national closing average for a professional salesperson is approximately 2.3 sales out of every 10 appointments. Now, your actual ratio may be better. However, for our purposes, and because I'm not so great at math, Let's use an average of 2 out of 10. Now, should you be closing 2 out of every 10 appointments and you raise your sales average to 3, you would have increased your closing ratio by half, or 50%. If your closing ratio is 4 out of 10 and you close 1 more sales on average, you would be increasing your closing ratio by 25%. And if I told you that you could increase your sales and therefore your income by 25% in the next year by averaging 1 more closed deal for every 10 appointments, you'd probably want to know how. How far would a 25% increase in revenue take you towards your financial goals? Now, there are 2 ways that I suggest you shoot for those kinds of numbers. 1, use the easier way to sell to raise your close ratio by 20 to 50% over the next 6 months. 2, have clearly defined sales goals during that period of time. Step 1 is simple. The easier way to sell communications model is available for free right here in our Close the Deal Without Selling podcast. And you can learn everything you need to accomplish step 1 in the first 10 episodes. And if you're just discovering the easier way to sell, I invite you to visit the closethedealwithoutselling.com website and find out more. The second step is not quite as simple because the skill of setting goals is not something most people were trained to do. How can you set and reach your goals in a way that gives you the best pathway to success? In our next installment, I'll share what I believe is the smartest way to reach clearly defined goals. Your assignment between now and then is to compile the numbers I suggested and start figuring out where you are and where you want to be. Good selling.